Hello, Dr. David Murphy here. Let's talk about stress. First of all, what is stress? The answer is everything. Everything is stressful. Anything we do burns energy. Even having fun burns energy. One of my patients was in the travel agency business and told me that the general wisdom in the travel agency business is that it takes as long to get over the holiday as the holiday is long. Take a week's holiday, it takes a week to get over it. Take a month's holiday, it takes a month to get over it. Everything is stressful. So when we say, oh, that was a stressful event, what we're really telling ourselves is what just happened drained energy. I had a net loss of energy. When we say that I'm stressed out, it means that we're so low on energy that we are now getting sick. We're getting ill, and either our mind is sick or our body is sick. And as I'll talk about shortly, we'll realize that you can't separate the two. The two, if one gets sick, the other gets sick. It's inevitable. So what's important then is to really define what is stress. If stress is energy, is to look at there are really 5 different types of energy that we need to pay attention to if we want health, if we want wellness, if we want well-being. And if we don't pay attention to it, so if any of those 5 tanks of energy get depleted significantly, we will start to get sick. We'll have trouble functioning. Our life will not be going well in some way or another. So what are those 5 tanks? Well, the first one is mental energy. We use mental energy, and I'm using the word mental here to talk about what we're thinking. When we're thinking, we're using mental energy. I know the word mental is applied to mental illness, mental health, and this is really looking at what is our brain doing when we're thinking. When we're thinking, we're organizing, we're planning, we're remembering what we just did, we remember where we put our wallet or our keys or our purse, we remember appointments, and then also we use mental energy to focus and to concentrate. So when we get low on mental energy, we have difficulty with those tasks. We become forgetful. We start to forget where we put things. We forget appointments. We might be reading a magazine or a book and read the same paragraph over and over again because we can't focus our attention sufficiently on what we're doing at that particular time. So then there's physical energy, and of course, that's how the body feels. And that's often the one we're most attuned to. When our physical energy is low, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I'm exhausted. We use those sorts of words to describe physical drain of energy. And then we have emotional energy. We need emotional energy to manage our emotions. We need to use energy to have appropriate emotional responses to what's going on in our lives. And we have an emotion going on all the time in response to everything. Simply put, it's either pleasure or it's pain. We're either moving towards pleasure or we're moving away from pain. But within that, the English language is rich with a massive number of words that describe our emotional experiences. And we need energy to experience our emotions. If we run low on emotional energy, we either underreact. So my firstborn is getting married, and I just go, oh, that's nice. You know, there's no pleasure. We can't experience pleasure when we're low on emotional energy. Or we have the opposite effect where we overreact. We become irritable, easily annoyed, might start feeling anxiety or panic attacks in situations where we normally wouldn't be bothered. We manage it quite effectively. And so we underreact or we overreact when we have low emotional energy. Now we have spiritual energy. And here I'm not talking about religion. All energy is spiritual, but not all spirituality is religious. So spiritual energy, when we have sufficient spiritual energy, we feel that what we're doing at any given time, or our life overall, has a sense of meaning or purpose. When we have spirituality, we have meaning or purpose. When we run low on spiritual energy, we start to feel that life isn't worth it. We start to say things like, what am I doing here? What am I doing this for? What's the point in all this? We start to lose the ability to notice the purpose in our lives and in what way we are doing things that are helpful to our purpose. And then we have material energy, which is mostly about money these days. We need money for our basic needs. We need a shelter. We need a home, an apartment, somewhere to live. We need a roof over our head. we need heat for our dwelling, we need food on the table, clothes for our body, depending on what sort of climate we live in. So we need a lot of material needs that these days it's around money. We need money to purchase those material needs. And then beyond that is the things that we want materially. And that varies from person to person as to what we want, as to whether we feel our material energy tank is full or empty. And this is a great example too for material energy, that all of this is subjective. It's just how do we feel? What do we believe our energy tanks are like? Where are they full? Are they empty? Each individual one. And material energy is very much true of that. So, I mean, for instance, I have a really, really nice house, and I'm very pleased with that. My material energy is high. I'm employed, and so on. But of course, if I was a multi-billionaire and had to live in my house, I think I'd be pretty hard done by, and probably believe that my material energy is pretty depleted. And so it's all personal. No one can tell you what your own personal energy levels are, but it's really useful to be aware of them, to start to be aware of them, because instead of just saying I'm stressed out, which one of those energy tanks is being depleted the most? And what do I need to do to replenish it? Because that's what health and wellness is, when we naturally have the skills and we take care of our energy and manage it effectively so we don't run out. So I'd like you to just to spend a moment right now just to measure these energy tanks, and you can do it all on the good old 0 to 10 scale. There's lots of different measurements that we use to measure on 0 to 10. There's depression, there's anxiety, there's pain. You know, depression, 0 might be not depressed at all, and 10 you suicidally depressed. At the same time with pain, sometimes it's the other way around. So 0, there's no pain at all, and 10, it's the worst pain you can imagine. So sometimes the 0s are good, sometimes the 10s are good, depending on the particular scale. So here, 0 would be the tank is completely empty, and 10 is completely full. And I can guarantee that none of these, if you're watching this video, that none of these tanks are completely empty or even close to being empty, because if that was the case, you wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't be listening to me. You'd be sitting in an intensive care unit somewhere on a psychiatric ward on suicide watch, because you'd be so seriously ill. So I'd like you just to measure those tanks now, and I'm going to run through that with you. And my mental energy right now, I've got the ability to remember, to focus. I must say, when I went through COVID, I had quite a lot of problems with short-term memory, particularly after the vaccine as well. But that's all recovered now. I think I'm going to give myself a 10 for that, for my mental energy, for my ability to think, to organize, to plan. And then my physical energy. I had a workout a little earlier today, so I'm a little bit tired, a little bit sore. Nothing significant, but I think I'll give myself, I need to put my feet up. I think a little later on after this, I'm going to give myself an 8 for that. And my emotional energy, I think that's pretty good too. Again, because I'm physically low, perhaps if my physical energy is a little low, there might be just a risk of overreacting a little bit or underreacting. So I'm going to give myself a 9, I think, for that. And then spirituality. No, I'm very grateful for what I have, and I'm very grateful I'm able to do what I do, and I feel that my life has a sense of meaning, purpose. I'm going to give myself a 10 for that. And then material, as I already said, I have what I need. I have my basic needs met. I'm very grateful for that, and I have a lot of the things I want. So I'm going to give myself another 10. And so if I add all those up, what have I got? I've got 10, 20, 30, 38. 47, so I've got a total of 47 out of a maximum of 50. So I'm doing well. I'm very grateful for that, very appreciative of that. And the numbers are important too, because on scales where it's 0 to 10, this one is actually 0 to 50. There are 5 different tanks, and the maximum is 50, which means halfway is 25. And the 25 is an important number, because if the score is less than 25 out of 50, then, we'll be not doing well in some way. We'll be feeling pretty glum, not very happy in some way. On the other hand, if the score is greater than 25 out of 50, then generally speaking, it's going to be, you know, a happy face. And of course, the closer we get to 0, the worse it gets, and the higher we get to, closer we get to 50, the better it gets. But there's that strange, again, that halfway score, which is the scaling with all these different scales: depression, pain. If you're at the 5 at halfway, if the good score is 10, you get above 5, life is going okay. But if you get below 5, then life is going off a little bit in some way. And it's true of all these scores in that way. There's that magical number 5 for some reason. So this one is 25. And when we start to say I'm stressed or I'm stressed out, then we're getting a score of below 25. But it's really useful to know which one of these is low. And notice these are all pretty much the same. And you'll find that you don't ever, when I do this with patients, I don't find that it goes, you know, 10, 9, 3, 8, 9, because these are all interlinked. If any one tank gets drained, it will have a ripple effect on the other tanks. It's inevitable. So if, for instance, someone was to lose their job and their material needs are suddenly cut off, and they're worrying about whether or not they'll be able to pay their mortgage, or can they afford their rent, or can they afford to turn the heat on in the house because they're short on material energy, well, this is going to have a drain on emotional energy. And of course, there's a lot of thought goes into solutions, so there's a drain on mental energy. And if a job loss, well, this happened quite a lot in the past at different times, where all of a sudden jobs and careers have just gone. They might have gone to another country, or they've been taken over by a computer. And so sometimes people have lost their way of life. It's not just a job, they've lost their careers, they've lost their sense of identity. And this has a huge ripple effect, of course, on emotional and mental health. And of course, then there's the ripple effect with physical health. If we start to get mentally unwell, then in the sense of mental health, then we have physical health too. The mind and the body are interconnected. You can't separate the two. They are definitely connected. And so, you know, an example of just how you can measure these is when the kids were younger, and we used to take them to Wonderland, which is a big theme park just north of Toronto. And it's got roller coaster rides, it's got a water park, it's got entertainment. You know, it's a big day. You spend the whole day there if you go, because it's expensive. And so at the end of the day at Wonderland, our material energy was severely depleted, because we had to pay for the tickets, and then you have to pay for food when you're in there, and so on. And it scoops out a lot of money out of the wallet very rapidly. They're very good at separating you from your material energy. And so at the end of the day, our material energy was low. We'd gone on a lot of roller coaster rides. You walked a long way in the park. And so physical energy is low. Mental energy was probably a little bit low too. We're doing a lot of thinking and planning, and where are we going next, and so on. At the same time, that what we found, though, was our emotional energy had gone up. Definitely gone up, because we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the roller coaster rides. We went in the water park. And so we had emotional energy was up, and also spiritual energy was up, because we felt it was good for our family. We all enjoyed it. It was a great day out together. And because overall, even though we had 3 tanks lower, I think if I'd been able to measure these back then, I would have found that the other 2 tanks were up sufficiently that our overall energy was increased by our day at the park. So we went back. If, on the other hand, we'd found that we left at the end of the day, well, that really wasn't much fun, we didn't enjoy that, what do we do that for? You know, spiritual energy very low as well, then we're not going to go back. And then because we wanted to go back, and we wanted to go back a lot once we really found that we enjoyed it, was that we decided, well, let's reduce the material energy stress. We got a season's pass. And with the season's pass, on the 3rd visit, it was essentially free compared to what you would have paid if you paid as you went. So we reduced our stress level even more by taking out a season's pass, which gave us more energy at the end of the day. So it's really important. That's why it's important to separate these tanks, to be aware of which one is low, because once you recognize which one is lower than the other ones, you can develop your own strategies for replacing it. And we all need to have our own strategies. And what we need is a bunch of different strategies. We have both active, so I can get this pen to work, there we go, active, and also what I call passive methods of regeneration, because we need to know how to replace the energy we've lost. And when I'm talking about active usually involves movement of some sort. It might be walking, exercise of some sort. There's a variety of different movements that people do, going to the gym, riding a bike, variety of different physical activities that are movement orientated, that if you enjoy them, and of course everything that we enjoy replaces energy. So we need to be able to tell ourselves, what do I enjoy? Now for me, I enjoy a lot of movement, but then there's a lot of passive. Passive is stuff that's we're doing movement, sitting still, watching a movie, reading a book, putting our feet up. And we all have different ideas about what for us is enjoyable. I mean, for instance, I know there are some people like to climb mountains without ropes, and they have that as fun. They go and do that all the time. For them, that's a boost of their energy, and they would feel drained in energy if they could not do that. Well, that's not for me, frankly. I want to do that. Very few of us would want to do that. But there's a lot of things I do like to do. And so it's important to be able to know what to do. And when one particular tank is low, is to use a different tank to replace it. So for me, for instance, if my emotional energy is low, then I tend to use physical energy to replace it. I will go out and I go to the gym. I like to bike ride. I like to walk and to hike. And I find that relaxing. For me, we use those words. Oh, that is so relaxing to do that. For someone else, it might be more passive. The physical is just to sit on a beach somewhere, to sit in their garden, to sit down and read a book, watch a movie. We all need different things. Someone who is, for instance, in construction is probably not going to have a lot of physical activities in the evening. They're not going to have a big garden. They're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to put their feet up and do relaxing things that involve very little in the way of physical movements. On the other hand, someone who, say, is an accountant, using a lot of mental energy all day, might well have a garden. They'll come home and they would relax by doing physical outlets, by movement. And so we need to find for ourselves what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And sometimes it's trial and error. I once was preparing a report, and I went into work one morning at 9 o'clock, got to the office, and an hour later, I just couldn't find the words somehow to create this report. So off I went. I decided, well, I'll go to the gym. I just left the office, went to the gym, had a workout for an hour, came back to the office and sat down. An hour later, I still hadn't got anywhere. So I thought, the heck with this, let's do something else. Why don't I come back tomorrow and do that? So I went home, I put my feet up, I sat out in the garden, I enjoyed my garden, read a book, relaxed, re-energized, went back into the office the following morning and got the report done. So I had to find that out for myself. No, the active methods didn't work that day. I needed the passive methods. On another day, it might have been the other way around. Some of these things are mysteries, but we need to find out our own resources on what works for the best for us. So again, the 5 energy tanks, we have mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and material. Each of them has a different purpose. For each of them, it's a different resource for us in our well-being and our wellness. Each of them needs a wellness program to be able to make sure those tanks are as close to 10 as we can possibly get them. So to make sure we have these routines where we're managing our stress, we're managing our energy. That's what it really comes to. Managing energy, knowing what's low, knowing how to replenish it. And I hope you enjoy that. I'm Dr. David Murphy. I will talk to you again soon.